Today we're going to look at some culture shocks people have experienced in the UK. Now, I'm from the Netherlands, and ironically I've only been to the UK once, to be specific, London, and I was there for like a day, I think at most. So I have some experience, but definitely not the most. So today we're going to look at what people have experienced there and see how it maybe relates to the Netherlands and different countries and places that I've been.
One of the biggest culture shocks that I've had living as an American in London is how much people here drink. Like, it's insane. For example, yesterday, me and my team, we were having a meeting, and then they were just like, should we go for a drink? It was 3 p.m. We went and had 2 beers, went back to work, and then afterwards, we all went for after work drinks at 5:30, and we had like, I don't even know, like 4 or 5 drinks. Like, people here drink a lot, and that was honestly like one of the biggest like things that I had to adjust to. I've adjusted well, like my tolerance is literally through the roof now, but it's kind of weird. Like in the US that would never happen, and people would be like, oh, that's really weird, and then wait until the weekend to drink. But like here, people kind of just like take it day by day, and they have more fun during the week rather than like living till the weekend, which I kind of like, because you're not just like living to work, you're working to live. And all of my friends who have visited here have also said the same thing. They're like, I cannot keep up with British people. And I was like, I know. I have literally had to build up a tolerance to live here. It's insane.
That's kind of surprising. I knew that in like Ireland and Scotland, I think, both those places, that there's like a big pub culture, but I didn't know that in London that people would go during their workday. I assume that's not like every workplace that does that, and I'm quite unfamiliar with that as well, especially because I don't drink myself, so I would not really participate in that way. But that's definitely a culture shock that I would have too. But then again, it's like you don't have to keep up with them. So even if you would go to the pub with them, I don't think you necessarily need to build up your tolerance, right? Like, you can just sit there. If you want to drink alcohol, just drink a few to what you're comfortable with, and then that's it.
I'm not used to as an American living in England, and no, one of them is not hanging my clothes on a washing line, even though I still think that's very weird. One thing about English people is they do not like to brag about what they have, and I actually love that about them. Americans love to tell you what car they drive, what school they went to, how much money they make. It was so weird when I moved to England and no one was asking me these questions, but it was also very refreshing. The amount of vacation days people get here through work is actually still insane to me. They really value family and downtime here in England, which I think is really nice. One thing about English people that I have noticed is they are way harder to get to open up. You can meet an American and be best friends with them 2 minutes later, but English people are definitely more standoffish, so making friends can for sure be a bit more difficult. Americans love to dress down, and when I mean dress down, go out in their pajamas. But you won't catch many people here in England going out like that. People just dress up more and definitely look more presentable over here. One thing about English people is you will have to beg them to give you a compliment, whereas in America, people are throwing out compliments left and right. Now, since living here, I'm like, are Americans just fake when they're giving you these compliments, or are they actually being nice? Because now I just have no idea. 4.5 years of being in England, and these are things that I'm just not used to, and I don't think I ever will be.
Yeah, I feel like the no bragging thing is kind of more of a thing in Europe in general, whereas people in America do seem to do that more, and the whole keeping up with the Jones thing, that's not really a thing in general in Europe, and I guess the UK is no exception to that. Another way that the UK might be similar to the Netherlands then is that for foreigners, I guess it seems harder to really get connected to the locals. And I think that plays into kind of what she said, like people being standoffish, where in comparison in America, people might be more like complimenting you and just being friendly to strangers. I still wonder too if it's actually genuine most of the time in America, or if it's not. But I mean, it's better than people just being rude to you in your face. So that's at least one thing. And about people not dressing in PJs and maybe dressing better. I did notice that as well when I was in London for that day, the tiny fraction of my life. And that's a little different than in the Netherlands, even though like in the Netherlands we're usually not out in our PJs or anything like that. In London when I was there, I really did see some immaculate outfits and outfit inspiration where I was like, okay, people here dress well and really neat. And I guess it helps that it tends to be colder as well, and you can layer up because that makes a difference as well. You can put on all these layers to make it look more sophisticated as well.
Me when I moved to the UK, but now are normal. Hi, I'm Bia, and I moved from Portugal to London almost 3 years ago. And despite having visited London before, there were still things that shocked me when I moved in. First one is Thursday pub nights, which means drinking like it's the weekend, but on a Thursday. There's no food, no dinner, just pints. And being hangover at work, it's kind of acceptable. Second, parks turn into beaches. As soon as the temperature is over 20 degrees, everyone goes into the park, literally wearing bikinis and shorts and tanning. I have to admit that I've done this as well a couple of times. The third one took me a long time to get used to. When you get to the office, it's very common for your colleagues to ask you, how was your weekend? What are you doing next weekend? And in the beginning, I would give detailed answers, only to understand that no, that is just a polite way of saying hi, no details needed. Fourth, the food habits. I knew food wasn't going to be great, but I didn't think their habits were this bad. A big proportion of people don't cook at all and live from meal deals, takeaways, and I don't think I'll ever get used to it because as a Portuguese, I love my cooking. And number 5 is how ancient the tube is. With London being a big city, it's surprising that the tube trains and construction are all quite old and it's super noisy. But despite that, I love it. These seats are iconic and it's generally the best way to move around.
If you saw me looking down just now, then I was making some pointers because everything goes so fast. I'm trying to remember what I wanted to say. But yeah, firstly we saw the pub thing again. And again, that can not be me. But if that's you, then you do you. But I will always go for peace and quiet, a book, maybe sit in the park, listen to the birds. That's more my vibe. But I respect the pop culture. And yeah, the tube kind of surprised me as well. And the park thing is kind of the same in the Netherlands. You know, if you just don't have that weather, well, how do you say this? Weather that is that good in general, then whenever it does get a little bit sunny, people go outside in their jean shorts or whatever and just try to just take use and advantage of this good weather in the sunshine and sit outside and go to parks, just enjoy that little bit of sun and vitamin D that they get. Also, the thing about polite questions is the same in the Netherlands, where people will just, when you come back to work after a weekend, people are like, oh, how was your weekend? What did you do? Kind of as to like make a little bit of small talk and then, yeah, go on with the day. Now, I did feel like in the Netherlands, people, it's like they kind of care, but also not, depending on the person, of course. But it's not like they were just asking and not expecting you to actually say what you did back. So I don't know if that's what she meant, or if it's more like you do say, like in London, you do say what you actually did it during the weekend and you just have that conversation, but people aren't really expecting you to do that. If you know more about this, then let me know in the comments.
I'll tell you some things that shocked me as an American that moved to the UK. And these are my experiences, so they may differ slightly depending on where you're from and different parts around the UK. So the first thing that shocked me is their love of tea is genuine from what you see and hear online. The one time I felt the most unsafe in this country was when I suggested to a Brit that they heat up their water in the microwave.
Yeah, now I'm gonna have to stop the video before we played through all the way, because that's the thing that I'm also like, no, you need to just use a kettle. And actually, it doesn't make that big of a difference, honestly, because a microwave gets the water hot too. But still, it feels wrong. It somehow just feels wrong to put the cup with water in the microwave. And it just feels more natural to do it in the kettle.
The second thing that shocked me when I moved here was that people actually have work-life balance. There are a lot of jobs that have 35-hour weeks, whereas in America, typical is 40-hour week. People really do get good paid time off. My first job here in the UK, I got more paid time off than my dad. It's like they actually want their people in their country to rest and have a life outside of work. In the UK, you often get greeted with, "You all right, you all right?" And it took me ages to figure out how to properly respond to this. Yeah, 7 years later now, when someone says, "You all right?" I say, "Yeah, you?" By the way, I don't really know how to do makeup, but if you get one product, you must get this one size product. Just finishing like your concealer and stuff like that in the oily areas. Another thing that shocked me is that you're just walking anywhere and you're most likely passing a building that's older than the US. And lastly, of course, the drinking culture shocked me. If you go to Leadenhall Market at literally 1 p.m. any day of the working week, you will see the finance bros drinking. And this one I still don't fully get, but there is a large drinking culture, especially around work. So those are just some of the differences that shocked me as an American who's lived in the UK. I hope you have a
So again, the whole drinking thing, and not saying finance bros, but yeah, apparently it is a big thing. But one thing I must say, in Europe as a whole, but also the UK, I like the charming buildings, the architecture. I feel like that's something that the US is really missing. And that's something I really appreciate, just how charming it feels. Even though there's old buildings all throughout Europe, still wherever you go, it kind of feels different. And they have their own charm and their own thing going on. And that's something I really appreciate, and also about UK. And there's definitely a lot of places that I want to visit. Definitely Edinburgh is on my list. I'm probably mispronouncing it, and I'm sorry for that. But that's a place that I've been wanting to visit for so long. But I definitely want to go and visit more places in the UK somewhere in my life when I can.